Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video, we're going to be making an updated tier list for Celestial Hypogean priority now that we have 11 different Celestial Hypogean heroes. The first thing I want to mention is that in this tier list, we're going to be talking about who are the major heroes you want to be thinking about Paragon upgrading, who are the ones you want to stop with at Supreme Plus, and who are the ones you can even stop at Mythic Plus for. However, very important note is that, in my opinion, Paragon upgrading Celestial Hypogean heroes is not recommended for most people. It is far better use if you save up for future heroes or you just try to build another pretty meta important Celestial Hypogean to Supreme Plus rather than taking your existing Celestial Hypogeans to Paragon. Paragon upgrade of Celestial Hypogeans is going to be a whale thing to do. People who are buying, for example, the pop-up packs throughout the season of Stellar Crystals, those are really the only people I recommend Paragon upgrading. Otherwise, just take a hero to Supreme Plus. You can have PvP use with them. They'll do their best in PvE content. You don't need to go beyond that. It's better to save for future heroes or to build another currently meta hero. Okay, so with that disclaimer, let's get right into the tier list. So number one, we have Athalia. Athalia is the hot topic now, of course, being the most recently released Celestial Hypogean hero. As of right now, she has not proven almost any usage in PvE content, not being good in any Endless Dream Realm boss currently. Things could be different for pre-Endless. Maybe she has a chance, and probably definitely for Ravage Realm, she will have usage, but very limited PvE content right now. The only rare place where she was important was the Sunrise Serenade challenge missions, which we had, which is, I mean, that was pretty useful. However, it is not like a constant game mode, right? Okay, but for PvP, that is where Athalia shines. She is the strongest PvP hero in the game right now. There is no question about that. Whether you're talking about regular arena or Supreme Arena, she has incredible damage output. She has survivability because she can resurrect as a lance and continue to deal damage. And she has damage very early on in the fight within 2 to 3 seconds. So overall, Athalia is a strong PvP hero, making her Paragon priority. However, because she has no Dream Realm usage, I'm not going to put her above the A tier. So I'm going to put her in the A tier. And she's a strong PvP hero, but that is her only role. And the thing with that is that, yeah, it could be interesting for you to build up a hero purely for PvP. However, there are other factors to consider. If you build her up and you have a heavy Paragon disadvantage because you can't get her past Supreme Plus, then that is going to be an issue. And if you're going to take her to Paragon, that is a really big investment you're going to be doing for her. So she is a Paragon priority. She's a strong PvP hero, but because of very limited PvE usage, almost none, she is not a must-have or a high priority for the vast majority of accounts out there. But if you're just talking about PvP, she is amazing. Okay, moving on to Berial. Berial is a hero. I know he gets a lot of hate in these videos. However, I cannot recommend you building up Berial, especially now that there are 11 Celestial Hypogeans out there. There's no way most people can even take all of them to Supreme Plus, let alone Paragon upgrades as well. That Berial, you cannot afford to build him. Even if you're a whale, you want to Paragon upgrade your other heroes. You do not want to build up Berial. Berial is not used. He's not a meta hero. However, if you do build him up, I don't even know where you would want to take him to. Like, because he's in the C tier and I think very irrelevant, it is just a matter of your preference. Like, if you like him, if you want to build him up, you can take him to Supreme Plus, you can take him to Paragon, but I don't think there's any need to do that. And as more and more heroes come out, heroes which are weaker are going to become even more power crept over time, right? They're going to become even less relevant as more heroes are added into the game. So there's no reason for you to be investing into Berial. Okay, Cryonaia. Cryonaia is interesting. She has PvP use, however, mainly on offense. On defense, she is too easy to counter. Either you kill her quickly before she can cast her ultimate, or you deny her casting her ultimate with like a Dunlingr, for example. There are ways to deal with Cryonaia. On offense, she is strong. You can usually pick off a defense, which is going to be counterable by Cryonaia. And in Dream Realm, she has a little bit of usage, very minor use. However, in Snowstomper, I believe she's in the overall top team, but only by a minor amount. If you don't have her, the second best team is going to compete pretty closely, so she's not like a must-have or anything like that. However, because of that niche Dream Realm use, it makes you think, Is she going to be more important than even Athalia to build? However, I don't think so. I think I would put her after Athalia, both in the A tier though, and she is, of course, has to be a Paragon priority. The P badge means Paragon if you didn't understand already. Because she is a powerful hyper carry in PvP. On defense, she does have issues, but I mean, a lot of heroes have issues on defense. Really, the most solid hero on defense for PvP is Athalia. She is one of the top ones out there. Cryonaia is going to be counterable, but so will be a lot of PvP heroes on defense. Okay, but she's a good hero. Cryonaia all around, not a bad hero, just not a must-have or anything like that. Okay, we have Dionel. Dionel is not, so he's a hyper carry, and he can be strong. Like, on the pay-to-win account that I use, there's a Dionel belt over there, and I'm making use of him, because he's really heavily invested into. However, is Dionel necessarily better than Cryonaia as a hyper carry? No. Is he better than Athalia? Definitely not. And is he useful for any PvE content? Also, definitely not. So, like, for all of those reasons, nowadays, in 2025, is it a good idea to invest into Dionel? Probably almost definitely not. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's more relevant than Berial, at least. And if you build him, he is a Paragon priority. Otherwise, there's no point of really building him because he is a purely PvP hero. And he's only a PvP hero for whales because otherwise, other people do not have the ability to build them up just for PvP. There's so many other important heroes who are also even better than him in PvP, like even Athalia, for example. Okay, next up we have the twins, Elijah and Lailah. They are the face of AFK Arena, the prequel, and even though they are not on the app logo of AFK Journey, they are basically that relevant that they should be. So they are going to be S+ tier heroes, one of the most important heroes and game-changing heroes ever released in AFK Journey. Their usage in Dream Realm for pre-endless, post-endless is 8 out of 8 in all the top Dream Realm teams, which is just ridiculous. There's no hero that has that much usage, has ever had that much usage in Dream Realm. And the thing is, as time goes on, they are still a support. They are still going to buff up whichever other hyper carry comes out for Dream Realm as a damage dealer, for PvP. So overall, Elijah and Lailah are pretty protected against being power crept as a support. So they're really good heroes. Overall, completely dominant in Dream Realm. They are a must-have hero on everyone's account. Now for PvP, I think they're fine. Their major use comes from giving a massive stat boost with Stellar Bond to their allies who are linked, and also if they can get off their ultimate, it is a really big power swing in your favor. However, the issues with them, they are easy to nuke at the beginning of the fight, so on defense, you can usually figure out a way to just shred through them. As maybe more tanky Stroll comps come out, potentially they can support twins in PvP even better. But for right now, I am going to give the S+ badge to the twins. I think for most people, your twins are going to serve you perfectly well at S+. I do not think they're an overly dominant PvP hero. That being said, in regular arena, when you have less firepower without faction talents and stuff, they are more difficult to kill, especially with like Ludovic healing, that like they might be able to guaranteed get off an ultimate, and then they have a lot of advantage. So like you can consider Paragon upgrading Elijah and Lailah, but because they're support, they don't get any value from the damage boost of the Paragon upgrade. They just basically increasing the inspiration intimidation stats as well as some other useful stats. That is why I don't really recommend heavily Paragon upgrading support heroes. And also it's just not, the twins are not a top tier PvP hero. They're fine, but they're not like Athalia, for example, in terms of Paragon upgrades, how much of a game-changing impact it will make onto your account. Trying to summarize what I'm trying to say is that you can Paragon upgrade the twins, or you can be perfectly fine leaving them at Supreme Plus, and it just depends on how much you use them in PvP and how much you are able to invest into your heroes. But Supreme Plus is good enough for them. Okay, Dunlingr. Dunlingr is interesting. On defense, he has usage because he can prevent enemies from like Iron nuking you, other insta-ultimating type comps, even countering Siren to an extent. However, he has one issue, which is that he can be easy to kill, and then his Bell of Order wears off. The other issue is you just see Dunlingr on defense, and you're like, okay, I'll go for a non-ultimate dependent comp like Tassi, Talene, Bonnie. That is also very strong. They stall out for a while, and then when the Bell of Order wears off, then they go in for the kill. So he is a tech hero, And in certain comps, he can be great. And on offense, he can be great by denying enemy healing if you need to for the Cure Lock, or even Spellbinding for denying the ultimates. But he's a tech option. And so his only use is PvP, not really for Dream Realm. So my previous tier list, I put him in the A tier, but honestly, I can't warrant putting Dunlingr in the A tier anymore. I'm just going to put him in the B tier. I'm going to put him in front of Dionel because I believe that Dionel is not nearly as meta or important as Dunlingr. The other thing about Dunlingr is over time, it's going to be very difficult to power creep the usefulness of Dunlingr, because as more and more powerful heroes come out, Dunlingr can shut down those powerful heroes. However, he doesn't shut down Athalia, because Athalia is a non-ultimate dependent hero, and like Cure Locking Athalia comms don't really change anything either. So yeah, and I'm going to give him the Supreme Plus badge, just to take him to like kind of all of his skills being unlocked to max out his potential. Getting him past Supreme Plus is just going to be a heavy investment for minor boosts from Paragon upgrades. He doesn't get any benefit from the damage boost because he is a tank. And so you can consider Paragon upgrading him, but only if you have plenty of resources that you don't know what to do with. Otherwise, Supreme Plus, he does become useful, like usable, basically. And you can bring him into counter comms and actually get the clear if he can hard shut down an enemy team. But on defense, he does have issues. Overall, he's nice, but even at Supreme Plus, you can use him on defense. Okay, so I'm going to put him in the B tier. Okay, next we have Harak. Harak is still dominating in Dream Realm, even after getting the Mythic Plus charms. He's still in like, I think 4 out of the 8 top performing Dream Realm teams, which is really impressive. Before we got the Mythic Plus charms, he was like in 5 to 6 out of 8 of the teams. But for pre-endless bosses, he has no usage. So Harak is still like, he's still dominating, and he's still a major priority for a lot of people's accounts. However, the only thing to keep in mind is that we are going to be getting a new Celestial Hypogean hero. It will almost definitely be a Hypogean marksman, because we don't have any hero of that faction and class set up so far, but we have one for every other class faction combo up until now. And if it is a Hypogean marksman, who knows what that could mean? It could be just a purely PvP hero, or it could have a Dream Realm usage that would even phase out and make Harak get power crept. So that is the only worry about Harak. If I knew for the next year Harak would still be meta relevant for Dream Realm, there's no question everyone begin building Harak. The problem is you never know when a hero is going to be power crept, and because Harak eats his own allies, and he only mainly deals HP per second damage, so for pre-endless he's just not a top tier option. Those are two things which make him really awkward to use. However, currently, he is definitely in the S tier as a damage dealer for Dream Realm. Arguably, you could even make an argument for him to be in the S plus tier because of how much relevancy he has in Dream Realm. But I'm not going to put him above the S tier. And now, as for where to upgrade him to, he's also good in PvP. He's better on offense because you need a comp that will baby him and support him and protect him to allow him to get 1 or 2 kills, and then he will carry you for the rest of the fight. But for that reason, because he is a PvP powerhouse, I'm going to give him the Paragon badge, and he is a Paragon priority. Also, of course, Paragon upgrading him will increase his basic stats, slightly improving your score for Dream Realm. But I've said this before, and I'll say it again, do not Paragon upgrade heroes only for a little bit of a higher score in Dream Realm. That is a really big major waste. You should only Paragon heroes which you think you're going to use a lot in PvP, and they're going to make a game-changing impact for you. Okay, so speaking of that, we now have Phraesto. So Phraesto is still the top tier damage dealer for endless Dream Realm bosses. Even if you're running Harak in the team, who is with Harak in every single team is basically Phraesto. Because then Phraesto, his illusion, who can respawn, is up to 3 different pieces of food for the Harak in Phraesto himself. And that is why he's such a good ally to Harak. But also Phraesto himself deals high HP per second damage with his Vicious Sting ability for Dream Realm, making him still the top tier damage dealer for Endless Dream Realm. Before getting to Endless though, in like pre-Endless, Phraesto has no usage other than in like Craze Shellbrew, where you need him and his illusion to be gulped. And then he still does have usage there, even in top teams. However, that is basically the thing. So Phraesto. Now, as for PvP, so as of that, of what we just explained right now, I'm gonna put him in the S plus tier, but not as important as the twins. The twins are more important. However, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you just forget about Phraesto and you take twins as Supreme Plus first. That's not what it means. What it means is that twins can work even at 1 copy. Phraesto needs the stats from Ascension in order to be a good damage dealer for Endless. So you still, in my opinion, the optimal priority of progression for Celestial Hypogeans is you take your twins, you get one copy of the twins because they can be usable at Endless bosses at one copy. And then you work on your Phraesto, you take him all the way up to supreme level of Ascension, you get him to plus 15 exclusive equipment so he can resummon his illusion after he's devoured or killed, and then and only then do you finish the twins and take them to Supreme Plus, and then you also finish Phraesto, take him to Supreme Plus. That's basically the priority. Now, should you Paragon Phraesto? Honestly, I'm going to say no. The reason maybe it's controversial, maybe you guys use Phraesto in PvP. Phraesto is fine in PvP. However, he is not top tier. When you look at the top tier, regular arena defenses, supreme arena defenses, they do not use Phraesto. Because Phraesto ends up just being a meat shield. He has some value from his Crimson contract. And so like in early game, mid game, where a meat shield is the way that you win fights, then it's potential that he's one of the best PvP heroes. But the thing is, in endgame, when you're talking about the fully optimized, refined comps, every single hero needs to contribute to high damage, or important debuffs, or important buffs, or they need to be have very good survivability and basically persist on the battlefield to keep getting off value, like Talene, Athalia types thing. So that is why Phraesto doesn't fill any of those criteria. He's mainly a meat shield with a little bit of buffing value from Crimson Covenant, and that is not enough. It honestly is not enough for top level PvP. And the thing is, as more and more heroes come out, Phraesto will become even less and less important in PvP, so that is the thing. He's not a bad hero in PvP by any means, and if you have him as Supreme Plus, you can use him. And like on my main account, I use him in PvP. However, if you have a lot more options built, and as more and more options come out for PvP, Phraesto will go onto the bench, and that is just what is going to happen. So that is why I don't recommend Paragon upgrading him. Again, I know people like to Paragon upgrade him to get a bit of extra basic stats, to get a bit of a higher score in Dream Realm, but that should not be a priority in my opinion. Okay, now we have Reinier. Reinier is still a very dominant force in Dream Realm. For pre-Endless, he is one of the most important debuffers, and even in Endless, he's seeing a lot of usage, and he pairs up really well with Harak. The question is, do you build Reinier before Harak or after Harak? Because there's no question, the twins and Phraesto, these are your top two heroes. You get them both to Supreme Plus before you even think about anything else. But the question is, do you build Reinier before Harak? Do you build him after Harak? It's a very difficult decision. Honestly speaking, very difficult decision. This season is kind of giving us a skewed viewing of how good Reinier is because he has one of the best charm effects in the whole game. Converting into true damage of your ally behind him. That is so valuable, and that is one of the reasons he's been so dominant in this season, even more dominant than he will normally be. With that being said, Reinier is still an S tier hero. The only question is, do you build him before Harak or after Harak? I think it's so difficult. It's really difficult, and it kind of comes down to who do you think is going to be power crept first? I'm going to put the Reinier before the Harak, and you will only need to take him up to Mythic Plus. Because Mythic Plus is when he gets his debuff to cause the opponent who is going to be debuffed with his dynamic balance to take 25% increased damage. But the thing is, right, if you're expecting that there will be a new meta Dream Realm damage dealer, then Harak takes the lower priority, and honestly, can even fall down to lower tiers. If you think there's going to be a better debuffer that comes out, or a better buffer that comes out, that is going to support your team better than a Reinier does, then Reinier drops down and can become almost irrelevant. So both the heroes in the S tier, currently, as a game, in the current game state, they are must-haves for maximizing your score in Dream Realm. However, all it takes is one better buffer or debuffer to replace Reinier, or one better hyper carry damager to replace Harak, and then these heroes can drop and become not only from S tier, they can drop all the way down to B or C tier, being completely irrelevant. Because that is the thing, and that is the most worrying thing about these heroes. They're on the verge that anything could come in and say, okay, you guys are now, there's no more use for you. We're going to be phasing you out. That is a worrying thing. However, currently, they are definitely an S tier hero, and both are priorities for you to build up. But yeah. And the thing is with Reinier, why I'm going to put him in front of Harak. For Mythic Plus, you only need 8 copies. For Harak, you need to get him to Supreme Plus before he gets any of his maximum potential in Dream Realm. And so, like, that is the thing. 14 copies into Harak, 8 copies into Reinier. Also, if you've been playing from global launch, you probably already had at least 1 copy of Reinier. Oh yeah, from the all hero login rewards, you're gonna have a copy of Reinier. So like you're already on in your progress of getting him to Mythic Plus. So that is all the reason why Reinier is gonna be the bigger priority to get to upgrade or build up before Harak. But they're both important. Okay, now we have Scarlita. Poor Scarlita. Scarlita is basically useless in PvP. I'm not going to ever recommend you to build her for PvP. The only way she's ever useful is from some AFK stages where you need to knock off enemies. But for that, there are other heroes that are doing the job, and also Harak. That's another thing. Harak is really strong in AFK stages, and so like investing into him is going to be helpful for those high deficit stages. Like Harak has the most use in AFK stages after the twins, basically. Twins and then Harak. For the high deficit stages. Phraesto is also good for AFK stages, don't get me wrong, but Harak is kind of a must-have for those higher deficit levels. So Scarlita, why would you build Scarlita? I can't even put it in the B tier. Honestly speaking, I don't know. I'm gonna put it in the C tier, and I'm gonna put it before Berial. I don't think she's as bad as Berial, but I'm not gonna recommend you really build her. I'm not gonna give her any badge. Definitely not Paragon. If you want to build her for those niche usage where you need her in AFK stages, then I guess Mythic Plus or Supreme Plus. But honestly, I would just... It's making me sick recommending anyone to build Scarlita right now. It's just not a good option. Skip on her. Skip on Berial. Just do not build these heroes. Like, I know some people are completionists out there, but just trust me. Do not build them. Your resources will thank you later. Okay, so next up we have Talene. Talene is strong in PvP. Solid hero for regular arena, for Supreme Arena. She's seeing a lot of use, and she has great allies in Tasi and Bonnie for both regular and Supreme Arena. She's a great hero. For PvE content, Plague Creeper, she is the top in the top team. For other bosses, not really, because they're just better options. For pre-endless, she had a little bit of use, very minor, honestly though. She's just been kind of phased out of Dream Realm, not really a top option there. But for any summoning related bosses, she's probably always going to see a decent amount of value. And especially Plague Creeper specifically. But that is not enough to warrant her being like a #1 priority or anything like that. The really difficult question I have right now, and this is honestly hard, is much harder than it looks like. And we're at the final hero. Athalia or Talene? Or Cryonaia, honestly, which one is the biggest priority? So as we've labeled here, we put Athalia before Cryonaia, because I think Athalia's PvP dominance outweighs Cryonaia's PvP decency and niche use in Dream Realm. So that's why I do consider Athalia a bit more important to build compared to Cryonaia. Talene, honestly, I have to still put before Athalia. Because the thing with Talene, in PvP, it's arguable who is better, Talene versus Athalia. Both are solid PvP options. But because, as of right now, Talene has had more PvE usage, for Plague Creeper, she is the best hero. There's no other... If you want to run the top comp, you have to run Talene. So that is the thing. And I don't know. Even Athalia has future proofing because she has like that persistency on the battlefield. She'll just keep attacking as her lance form. Talene is very similar. She can keep reviving herself. They're honestly very similar in terms of their mechanics in PvP. But overall, I am going to have to put Talene in front of Athalia, and she is a Paragon priority because she is a viable or a pretty meta relevant PvP hero. So with that, guys, we have finished the tier list. I am very happy with it. I'm happy about the placement of all the heroes. We have put them in position. Left on the tier is more important than right on the tier. The ones who are towards the end, like Cryonaia, they're the least important in the A tier compared to Talene, who is the most important in the A tier. This is my opinion. You guys may have different opinions, even on Paragon upgrade priority. You may have different opinions. You can feel free to share them in the comment section down below and give me a reason as well why you disagree with what I'm saying. But overall, I'm happy with this. I feel like it is representing my feelings and opinion based on all of my experience. And another thing, just to re-emphasize what I mentioned at the beginning of this video, do not upgrade Celestial Hypogean to Paragon unless you are buying all the Stellar Crystal pop-up packs. Otherwise, you cannot afford to do this. If you're a free-to-play light spender, you haven't touched a Stellar Crystal pop-up pack, the 800% packs, you should not be Paragoning any Celestial Hypogean. You need to save up your resources for future meta Celestial Hypogeans, or even building another relevant one. Like, for example, right now, Twins, Phraesto, Mythic plus Reinier, Supreme plus Harak, all of these are heroes which everyone should have on their account if you want to max out your current potential in the current game state. And even to get all of those four done, you basically need to use all of your resources as a free-to-play to light spender. And then you should begin saving for future Celestial Hypogeans who might be even more meta-relevant, right? So you can't afford to Paragon anything, and you should not. Leave them at Supreme Plus. They are more than effective enough. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Good luck with all of your Stellar Crystals, dodging the pity, using following a good priority so that you make good use of your resources, and do not invest in the B tier heroes and below unless you're a whale. And honestly, even the A tier heroes, it is really a luxury if you want to invest into them. They are just not the most important to have on people's accounts. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please smash that subscribe button. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. And thank you guys for the support. We're getting close to that mark. Also, feel free to join my AFK Journey Discord server to chat with me more about Celestial Hypogean, or personally, like, for example, your exact position that you're in. If you want to ask me questions, feel free to jump into the Discord. There's a link to the Discord in the description of this video. I look forward to chatting with you guys there. But thank you all for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.